We're here in the golf corner where we have our first ever golf corner guest. Uncle Brian, swing coach that you've already met. We've got him back on the channel in person this time, not just over Zoom. 8-time winner on the Golf Channel Am Tour is here to answer all my questions, and likely the questions you have. When I ask, hey, what are the pros doing? How do I get my numbers to look like the pros in terms of launch angle, spin speed, spin rate, whatever? They always have the same answer. Oh, those guys are just different. Those guys are just a different breed. No, they're not. They're just people.
Correct.
Tell me what I need to do with my body to produce that spin rate. I'm just trying to whittle this down further and further into what are the actual actionable steps to make me just different, because I know they're not aliens. Just
Sure.
tell me what to do it and I'll go do it. And so that's really what the genesis of this is just trying to find that razor thin line so I can figure out how to take the step over it. I see a lot of really good amateur golfers. I see a lot of really good swings, a lot of really good numbers. I'm just wondering, where do all the good golfers go? Because not everybody's going on tour. Not everybody makes the PGA. I'm trying to find those distinctions, right? So I'm trying to see what takes a good amateur swing that I see on the range and produce a good score. Let's start there, and then we'll move from how to move from a good score to a tour player.
The difference between a great amateur, even a successful college player, and a pro is razor thin.
Sure.
Tons of great athletes out there. So for me, the biggest part was always the mental game. The ability to control yourself as you're playing through the round, and then also the ability to free yourself to go low. All the years I've played golf, the true best had the ability to command it when they needed it and to go low. And what I mean by that is the ability on a tough day to shoot a 62, a 63, and really either separate themselves from the field or get back in the hunt.
Even back in my high school days, I went to a Clemson golf camp, and I was talking with the coaches and players there, and I was like, what are you guys looking for when you're scouting players? And they were really talking about it's not so much about shooting 72 every time you go out there. You can shoot 75, 76s if you also have the ability to shoot a 64, a 63.
Absolutely.
And so they really look for that low score to show the ability to do it. And so part one there, what you kind of mentioned, is believing that you can do it, right? Like having the mental ability to free yourself up and just go chase it. Mental is part one, but you also have to do things. You also have to make putts. You also have to hit it close enough to do that. So I guess once we're at that level, if we're talking we're good enough to get the putts to fall, we're good enough to have the ball striking, how do we go from mini tour to PGA Tour or something like that? Because those guys are all really good putters. They're all really good ball strikers. They all have at least some semblance of a mental game. Where does that line fall? It seems like a really fine line.
So you're absolutely correct. It is, and I'll say it again, is a razor fine line. I remember years ago watching, Q School 7 days was in Orlando, and the difference of 2 or 3 shots, which was one drive, one loose iron, a couple missed 3 putts, was the difference between getting a tour card or going back and trying again. That's the first thing to think about. It is really just that close, and that's why I always say being able to command that shot or that thought at the right moment makes the difference. The guys that are out there really separating themselves and consistently shooting par or under, sounds like a cliche, but it's real. They manage their misses. They don't miss in a place that they either can't make par or still even give themselves a birdie opportunity. How many times do you see a tour pro make birdie from the rough?
Right.
So that's really the first biggest part, is managing the misses and being able to occasionally turn those misses still into a birdie and a shot.
1, managing misses. 2, having the ability to do it. 3, what I've seen, and I think what you're kind of talking about here, and I talked to one of our pros at the club about it as well, the guys that make it on tour take their chances.
Yes.
They recognize the moment and they take control of the moment, like you're saying, and they hit the shot when they need to.
Absolutely.
And that's mental, you think?
Yes, and it goes back to what you said earlier. You hear a lot about visualize a shot, see yourself doing it. They take it a step further. they believe they have hit that ball. That ball, I mean, they see the putt rolling out when it, or what they see the ball rolling out when it hits the green and ending up, 7 feet away with a straight uphill putt. They really visualize it to that level, and then they execute. So really, being able to put all that together when you need it.
Right.
Now we're talking the difference between somebody on tour and somebody winning on tour.
Making the shot when you need it is huge. And, in the tournament that I just finished, that you guys just finished watching, that was one thing that stood out to me, is I was able to recognize the moments, but I didn't have the trust in my swing to take advantage of it.
So I'll say the nice thing I saw about watching you over the last 2 days in the tournament was, going in with a game plan, sticking to the game plan, and having great, patience and awareness throughout. So you had all those things, and you gave yourself lots of birdie putts.
Yeah.
I would say over the 2 days, you had 10, 12 makeable birdie putts within 20 feet. Tour pros typically average 5, 6 birdies around. And, you're never going to stop all the bogeys or even potentially a double that can happen. But if you're making 5, 6, 7 birdies around, it takes care of it, and you still finish a few under. So once again, you're at that razor thin edge of crossing over to having solid subpar rounds.
So let's wrap this up and talk a little bit more specifically about transitioning me to that place, because this has historically been something I found myself struggling with. In high school, I always felt like I had to play a perfect round. Like if I missed a fairway, if I missed a green, if I hit something in the water, I thought my round was over, because I didn't have the ability, at least in my mind, to come back from that. I wasn't going to be the guy to go string together 4 birdies and make up for 2 bogeys or make up for a double or something like that. So I was always trying to play perfect, clean golf, bogey-free rounds, and so it was really easy to get derailed when I made a bogey or when I made a double, which happened a lot in high school. And so I find myself in a similar position now, having only made 2 birdies in the weekend of this tournament. I was still in the mix. I was 3 back. I made 2 birdies the whole time. And I find myself round after round saying, man, I feel like I played a perfect round. I feel like I played with so few mistakes. To end up right here doesn't feel congruent with what I just witnessed myself do. And like we said, the putts weren't falling. How do I make them fall? That's the question,
First of all, it's a different practice session.
Yeah.
But, realistically, looking at it, you did all the right things to that moment, and you just have that one step left, which you hear everybody say. It's the putts that make the difference between making the cut, not making the cut, making a check, winning a tournament, and it's true. So the fact that, I take the positive, the fact that you gave yourself 12 makeable birdie putts over a 36-hole tournament, that you're right there.
Right.
The difference is just making half of them. That puts you right there. So to me, I think you're a lot closer than you may feel. If you did everything exactly the same, and you had made 4 of your dozen birdie opportunities, you'd be the winner.
I'd have a trophy sitting back there.
You have a trophy sitting back there. So in that regard, the razor thin difference between how you performed and what you need to do is just some putts. When you average 5 to 6 birdies around, if you make a bogey or even a double, you're not worried.
Right.
Because you're like, hey, I got 5 or 6 birdies I'm going to make.
Exactly.
Okay, now I'm only going to finish 4 under, 3 under, rather than going,
5.
oh my gosh, I got to make up a bogey, I got to make up a double.
Right.
You're dipping into your savings account.
Well, it's the mentality of playing to win versus playing to not lose as well.
Correct.
And I feel like I've been playing to not lose for a long time.
Yeah. I think you're 3/4 of the way there. It's about, sharpening the approach, sharpening some of the things you're working on. And the biggest part is just believing you're capable of it and going out there and attacking the golf course as though you've already done it.
All right, well, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
I appreciate having the insight here. Believing and belonging is going to be a different series, but we'll just tease that one for now. Anything else before we wrap up from the 8-time Golf Channel Am Tour champ?
It's been an absolute pleasure being here this weekend, spending some time on your golf game, and I look forward to being part of this journey as you head towards the tour. So
absolutely,
all the best.
All right, join us next week for Tour Bound number whatever episode we're on, and we will see you in the next one.